Am I the asshole for letting my daughter live in a Harry Potter cupboard? I, 44M, have 3 children with my ex-wife Jen, 40F, Alice, 16F, Ben, 14M, and Cindy, 13F. We divorced 7 years ago, and Jen has full custody, but I have still been an involved father and very active in my children's lives. I would see them at least once a week, I took them on vacations, and sometimes they would even have unofficial sleepovers at my place, where they would camp out in my main room. I've had a great friendship and co-parenting relationship with Jen. However, due to long-standing homesickness, a need to be near her side of the family, and a marriage to a new man, Jen has returned to her home country. We both decided that the kids should get a say in whether or not they return to Jen's country with her, or if they stay in the US. They all have dual citizenship, and they mostly speak the other country's language quite well. The girl's a bit better than Ben does, but he's conversational. Nonetheless, all of the kids decided that they wanted to stay in America. Jen said that this meant I'd have to step up and find a way for them to stay with me, and I obviously agreed. I never had space for them before, living in a series of bachelor pad studio apartments since being on my own, and housing is very expensive, but fortunately I was able to get family to come through. My brother was able to give me a break on one of his rental properties, basically a sort of duplex/condo house that he had been running as one of his Airbnbs. It has, technically, just enough space. He's charging me way below market rent for a long-term rental to stay there, and I also fully realize that he's given up his short-term rental income as well, and I'm deeply, deeply grateful for that. Frankly, the place is beautiful, even if it's not especially big. Space-wise, we basically just had the 3 bedrooms to put people in outside of common areas. The bedroom for me, a bedroom for Ben, and the 2 girls sharing a room. Alice and Cindy were both used to having their own rooms, but they were pretty understanding. At least as far as my situation goes with housing and money. They did not get along well as roommates though. First off, I'll acknowledge that the room is small. It's slightly bigger than Ben's room, but that's not saying much. I had a single student dorm room back in college, and their room is maybe a smidge bigger than that. Bunking the beds was an absolute must. Also, the girls have very incompatible personalities. Cindy is sensitive to scents, and she complains all the time about the way Alice smells. Not BO or anything like that, but her perfumes and hair stuff and lotions and body wash. I don't think that Alice's fragrances are excessive. She uses some fancy stuff, but she mostly just smells like a teenage girl. I only notice her perfume when I first get close to her, when we hug or when she first gets into the car, etc., and Cindy is the only one who thinks it's overpowering. Cindy also complains about Alice's things that aren't terribly strongly scented, like her makeup and face masks and beauty stuff. Alice is big into makeup and beauty products. Alice likes the lights in the room to be very bright. Cindy likes the lights in the room to be dim or dark. Alice does exercises and TikTok dances and video calls with her friends all the time, and this really annoys Cindy, who is much more quiet and introverted. I tried to get them to bear with each other and to smooth things out, but there's only been so much I can do. Both of the girls totally love each other and they've always been very tight as sisters, but the close proximity caused inevitable friction. Anyway, one day I came home from work, and I found that Cindy had pulled her mattress out of the room and that she had set up a bed for herself in the closet underneath our front hall stairs. It was basically set up to be a closet or maybe a pantry before, although we didn't really have anything in there yet. It's like 4x7 space or so, pretty much just enough room for her twin mattress and for her to set up her computer and stuff next to it. There's some shelving in there, and the carpet does run into that space. She had some LED lights and some basic decorations up, and it actually looked kind of cozy, even if I was surprised to see it there. I'd say that there are definitely capsule hotels that offer way less space, and she just played it casual when I came to see what was up. Cindy said she moved her stuff in there so she could have her own private space and that this was better for Alice too. Cindy said that it was her idea, and one of the first things that I did was go and check with Alice to make sure that she hadn't kicked her little sister out of their room. Alice confirmed that it was Cindy's idea, and she seemed sincere about not having forced Cindy out, and she even seemed apologetic about ending up as the one with the main room. Cindy has a nice little setup in there, and she's small anyway, so she can stand up in there a lot easier than I can. She seemed like she had a plan, and both girls were clearly relieved to have space to themselves. It had been a long day at work, so I pretty much just told them okay whatever, and I let the matter rest for the night. The night became the weekend, and the weekend became the week, and it just became kind of normal. I did have the presence of mind to ask Cindy if she was really okay with this a few more times, and she said that she was. Later on, when Cindy asked me for money to buy a game, I told her that she could have it because she deserved it for living in the tiny room under the stairs, and I told the other kids that if they wanted to switch with her they could have a bigger allowance. Neither of them were taking, and Cindy has had a little bit more discretionary budget since. 3 or 4 weeks later, I had my girlfriend, Tasha, 33F, over to stop by before we went out to her friend's birthday dinner, and she happened to notice Cindy's room. She opened the door and looked around in there and she turned to me and she said, "You've got her in a little Harry Potter hovel. She's in a cupboard under the stairs." She seemed partially amused and partially incredulous, but I explained to her that we had limited space, the girls weren't getting along sharing a room, and that this was Cindy's idea. Tasha was kind of surprised that I let her do that, but I told her that when you're raising kids, especially teenage girls, you kind of have to pick your battles. Tasha joked that she wasn't sure if it was legal to have a kid live under stairs like that, but officially, she's sharing a room with her sister. She mentioned it at dinner, and some of her girlfriends ribbed me about it. I tried to be a good sport, but honestly it hurt a little bit. This is seriously the biggest house that I can afford, and I can only afford it by the grace of my brother cutting me a break. I feel like I have a pretty good job, but stuff is just expensive. I am honestly trying to do my best with having 3 kids suddenly moving in with me, making me have to move to a whole new place to accommodate them, and stuff is tight, but I'm trying to make it work. If the kids can come up with a solution that works better for them, I'm not going to tell them no. Mind you, I'm not complaining about having to take care of my kids. I'm totally happy to have them, and it's been a blessing to see and interact with them every day. Jen also deserves a break and to be able to do something for herself for once in her life. She said that she feels like she's sacrificed a lot of herself to just be a wife and a mother. She said the kids are old enough to be a bit independent, and that she finally needed to make a decision for her, and that's why she was willing to go back to her country even if they wanted to stay in the US with me. Frankly, I agree with her. She's wanted to go back home forever, even back when we were married, but she stayed in the States for other people, me, and our children. I'm glad she found someone and she's going home with him. She deserves it. After the party, Tasha could tell I was a little withdrawn, and she managed to get me to admit that I didn't like people making fun of my housing situation. I told her that I had never in my life felt more like a broke loser. She apologized. We hugged, and she said she'd knock it off. She reassured me that she doesn't think of me that way. And really, I don't usually think of myself that way either. Again, I have what I consider to be a pretty good job, and I make what I consider to be pretty good money, but it is what it is. Other than the fact that our living space is small, I don't feel like we're struggling financially. It just felt bad to feel like I'm not able to provide for my kids. We made up, and the rest of the night was fine. I made sure to keep checking in with Cindy, and she really prefers being down there to being in the room with Alice. Alice obviously likes having a bedroom to herself. Cindy has made the space pretty cozy and homey, even if it is just about the size of Harry Potter's room from the movies more or less. I've asked the kids on at least a few occasions if they're glad to be with me in America and if they wanted to move to their mom's home country with her after all, maybe just to immerse themselves in their culture or to get to know that side of the family better. It's a really great country. I wish I spoke the language worth a damn, but they've said that they definitely want to stay in the US with me and that maybe they'll visit their mom sometimes in the future. She says that she's also going to come visit them for holidays here, and they've kept in touch over the phone/internet. Both the kids and their mom have also pointed out that they'd certainly have even less space living in her country with her. So, I guess the kids are fine with the arrangement as it is, but sometimes I do kind of feel a way about having my youngest daughter living under the stairs. I'm honestly trying to do my best. Am I the asshole here?
Not the a-hole. As long as everyone knows and is okay with what's going on, then you don't have to explain yourself to anybody. Don't feel bad for it. You are definitely not the a hole.